Hey, good evening. Welcome to another episode of Bright Lights, where we, instead of cursing the darkness, we light a candle. And instead of whining and complaining about how unfair life is and all the bad things and obstacles, and looking back and looking around us, we encourage people to get an idea of your purpose in life and set some goals, and let's go get those goals. And I really believe that if we do what we're supposed to do, our success is not determined so much by our circumstances as it is by us and what we do and our habits and our morals and ethics and values. And those are the type of things, how hard we work. And I can go on forever on that. But the bottom line is, and life has proven this to me, that my achievements in life depends on me and God, and not the world and what's going on in the world and history and things like that. Well, that's me, and it has worked for all my life. I tell people I haven't had a bad day in my life, and that doesn't mean it has been perfect, but my fate had prepared me for any and everything in life. So today, and it's another blessed day in the hood here, as I say. Uh, Today, our guest is Anthony Hulula. And, we pride ourselves in spanning the globe to bring you achievers. And we've gone all the way to Nairobi, Kenya tonight. And I think it's about 4 o'clock in the morning or something over there. And we got a guest here, Anthony, and we're going to be talking to him shortly here. Anthony's doing some great things as far as working with families and feeding families and things over there. So I'll let him get into it. Uh, Today, I guess a couple things. I'll talk about uh, my dad. Sunday, last Sunday, the 24th, my dad would have been 97 years old. And he was the most important, he is still, always will be the most important man in my life. I am not too much into athletes, pro athletes, and celebrities, and the rich and famous. My heroes and mentors and people I looked up to, I was around them every day, and it was just their character, the content of their characters, and their smartness and everything. That wisdom, I should say, would be a better word. That I cherish and fondly remember. Uh, I was a few episodes ago. We talked about the privileges of the rich and famous, and white privilege, and all kinds of privileges. And I was fairly honest in saying I don't want. I'm proud of the privileges that I had. The privilege of growing up in a family with two parents, having people around me, wise people that loved me and supported me and looked after me. And I just feel like I'm one of the most blessed and privileged people on earth. So I don't envy or complain about others' privileges. Now, my dad, you've heard me say, my dad, I never heard him swear. I never heard my dad raise his voice. He always worked hard and sacrificed for his family, for me, and I could tell that's what he was doing. He taught me self responsibility, self accountability, how to set goals and work hard for them. He taught me to take care of how to take care of myself and my family and my children. He taught me how to be a husband, and I'm thankful for to him for that. Uh, and I just have a lot of great memories. Whether it was working with him, he was a carpenter on some repair and remodeling on antebellum homes. He was also a mechanic, and just being under the hood with him, working on his car or clearing land for a garden, hunting, and all those things created a bond. between me and my dad. He just had a wonderful spirit about him, and with all sincerity, I say to people, I'm half the man my dad was. I never saw my dad come home and sit down and watch Sports Center and have a beer or watch Monday night. He came home and he worked until it was bedtime, and he always taught me that. And I remember the words of UCLA coach John Wooden, which says the best thing a man can do for his children is love their mother. And my dad was a good example of that. And he just taught me how to be a man. And I say, even though he never raised his voice or cursed or anything like that, or was disrespectful to anyone, uh, everyone called him man, a man Sylvester. And I'm just proud to be his son. And I'd like to say happy 97th birthday to my dad. Now, the only other thing I'm going to talk about this evening before we bring our guest on is Elon Musk bought Twitter this week. I think it's a great development. I think it's a great victory for free speech. I haven't been shy about how I feel about big tech and their censors. I haven't been shy about the fact that here on Bright Lights, we're not going to censor any of your ideas. I think the best thing you can do, even with bad ideas, is disinfect them with the light of day. And so this whole thing where Facebook, Google, a lot of the other social media, and just media period, are not bringing you certain information. We don't do that here, and I don't like it being done. I think it is a threat to our democracy, and people can give you a fake idea of what free speech is. And the very people who will talk about free speech are the various people who are against free speech. No, let me repeat that. They are for free speech as long as it support their ideas and the way they look at the world. If it doesn't, they don't support it. It's kind of like diversity. Uh, Most of the people who yell about diversity, what they mean is we welcome diversity as long as you see things the way we do and you agree with us and you don't offend us. And we take a different position here. We welcome any and every ideas that you have. If we have enough knowledge to push back against them, we will. If we have enough knowledge to feel comfortable agreeing with you, we will. But we will always challenge you no matter what your ideas are. So, anyway, happy birthday, Dad. Glad Elon Musk bought Twitter. And for y'all who don't know, I really admire Elon Musk. He's a very savvy guy, man. He was in on the PayPal. He helped bring us PayPal. He helped bring us private space exploration with SpaceX. He is very forward looking as far as the colonization of space. He's concerned that the human race would disappear if something happened to Earth. In fact, he's even concerned we're going to destroy the Earth ourselves, and we're going to need some place to go. So I admire that about him. Of course, you know about the Tesla cars. Electric cars have come a long way because of him. I remember when electric cars first came out, the acceleration of them from 0 to 60 in so many seconds. I might have been a minute for them to go 0 to 60. I'm exaggerating that now, but I'm saying that to say this. A friend of mine recently bought a Tesla, and he took me for a little spin in it. And those things are like rocket ships now. I mean, you hit the accelerator, and you will be leaning back in your seat from the, I guess, the G force. And so I've been really impressed with the things that he's done. And he has let people know that he will not be censoring things, and he will give everybody an opportunity. And the other thing business effort he started is a place, something called Neurolink, and where he's trying to, I guess, for lack of a better word, connect the human brain to the whole artificial intelligence. I read somewhere where he's warning us that artificial intelligence can be a very dangerous thing. So I'm going to go back and take a look at that. So happy birthday, Dad. Glad to see Twitter in different hands. I think hopefully he lives up to what he said, and we'll become a country that's more open to free speech, even people who we disagree with, even people who have strong opinion. And if you think about it, the Constitution wasn't written for popular speech mainly. It was meant to protect unpopular speech. And so, and I've talked about this in the past. There's something called the tyranny of the majority that people, anybody who create a democracy, be worried about, because technically speaking, if you're a democracy, you can basically shut up your opponents and things, vote them out, and everything else. So, to help us avoid that, I think Elon Musk is going to be a good purchaser of Twitter. Now, anybody who disagree with anything I say, let me know. If you got anything to add to that, let me know. Okay, so as I said, this evening guest is Anthony Hulula, and we're going to bring him on right now to talk about all the great things he's doing over in Nigeria. Welcome to Bright Lights, Anthony. Anthony, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. As I told my audience just now, it's about 4 a.m. over there in Nigeria.
In
Uh,
Kenya,
in Kenya, I
Nairobi,
mean,
Kenya.
yeah. I'm sorry, Nairobi, Kenya. I'm sorry, Nairobi, Kenya. How late are you going to be up tonight, and what time you have to be at work in the morning, Anthony?
No, I always wake up by 6, so
Okay,
I'm good. I'm good.
yeah, you're like me. I was a software engineer, and sometimes we'd have to work overnight installing new computer systems and things. And
Mhm.
I used to worry about getting up and being back into work at 8:30. But I had a coworker one time said, "Hey, that's no big deal. It's I think it's about 5 o'clock in the morning. We're working, and I'm like, we got to
Mhm.
be back here at 8 o'clock in the morning." And he was like,
Mhm.
doesn't bother me as long as I get a couple hours of sleep, I'll be okay. And as soon as he said that, I was okay too. Okay, so let's talk about uh, growing up in Kenya. Uh, where were you? What city or village or whatever were you born and raised in, Anthony?
Yeah, I was born in the western part of Kenya. I always call myself that I was born on the slope of a mountain called Mount Elgon. That's the nearest hiking reference I could
Hmm.
give. But in a rural village, um, at that time we had bananas. I think I was born in between the bananas, not even in a hospital at that time.
Hmm.
Um, and raised really in the same village. The only near town is called Kimilili. Now,
Hmm.
Kenya is divided into counties, so it's in Bungoma County, which is part of the western uh, region.
Okay, and
Yeah.
how many people lived in this village that you were born in, Anthony?
Um, well, during the time, but we didn't have even sense of where you will know. But now I think it is a bit populated. We can assume it's like 500,000 people, living in the
Oh,
same
okay.
village where I was born. Um, I come from a family of 10 siblings. I have both parents, but I didn't see my grandparents on both sides, my mother's side or my father's side, because I think they died and left. My both parents were orphans at a very
Hmm.
young age, and they were all firstborns from different families. So
Hmm.
my mother was taking care of all the siblings from her side, and then my father also had to take from his side. So they started life, very young. They didn't finish school. My mother, I think, only reached class 7. That's
Hmm.
grade 7, and then she had to get married and take care of the siblings. My father also did the same. Got, I think, up to high school, grade Form 2, and then life became difficult, so he started fending for himself. So those are the stories we get, from that. And my grandfather had 3 wives. So my grandfather had 3 wives. My grandmother was the second wife, who was killed because of the competition and rivalries at that. So those are the stories um, um, that shaped my life as we were growing up uh, from that early stages. Yes.
So when you start talking about 500,000 people, I'm not thinking village. Is this still a village?
Yeah, this here, there are villages in different as you move.
Hmm.
So, and these villages are given names. So we call it a village because it is given a name. Like now, our
Okay,
village is
gotcha.
called Sawa.
Right, right.
Sawa village. So, and then you move into the other one is called Huiroro village. And then you move into another one is called Kamsinga village. So that is the only estimate I can give you. Yeah.
Okay. I promise my
Mhm.
audience we're going to get on to bigger and more important things, but just the way my mind works here. Uh, does a village ever grow up to be a city in Kenya?
Uh, um, I think a couple of villages will
Uh-huh.
grow in a town. They form
Okay,
a town.
gotcha. Okay, okay, gotcha,
Yes.
gotcha, gotcha.
And then, even before they become a town, they become like an urban center, like a
Oh,
small
right, right.
market.
Uh-huh,
And
uh-huh.
then those small markets, will form, a small town. And then, because we only have, how many? Four cities in Kenya. There's Nairobi as a major city. Then we
Uh-huh.
had Kisumu as another one. And then Mombasa. And then recently we had Nakuru. So there are only four, among
Aha.
all the towns that we have here. So we
Okay.
don't even call them cities. They are towns or markets or shopping centers.
So one of my weaknesses or strength, according to how you look at it, and I think on the podcast is I don't know how to categorize it, is that I'm curious about everything. But I want you to know, Anthony, I'm not going to ask a lot of other questions about the history of Kenya and everything like that. We're going to focus more on you and what you're doing here. Now, you mentioned none of your parents, I think, if I interpreted that, remember that correctly, actually went to college. Is that, did I
Yes.
recall? Yeah. And
Yes.
you decided that you were going to go to college.
Mhm.
And tell us about your education experience in colleges, and why did you decide to major in education, and what influences those choices on your part?
Yeah. Yes, my parents, both of them didn't get to college. They survived, I think, with the experience they got that they have up to now.
Okay.
They are just peasant farmers, and the discussion within the house, always said you need to go to school. That
Mm-hmm.
was, my father, my mother, they
Mm-hmm.
valued that, despite, because one of the things that they will always tell us is that they did not manage to go to school because now they didn't get somebody to pay their school fees, especially my father on that side.
Mm-hmm.
So that encouraged us. I am number three, in my family.
Mm-hmm.
So I have two sisters, ahead of me, and they got to the level of Form 4. But now when I came that time, going to school, and there was a little bit of an environment that was not encouraging. That everybody, cousins, the relatives, the neighbors, they were going up to maybe the primary level, and
Mm-hmm.
that was the level that they could go. So I use that as a positive aspect, looking at it positively to say, can I do something different? And so I finished my class 8. When I was going, to Form 1, in fact, it was now very difficult because there was no money. I had to be a day scholar for a whole year, to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
when I reached high school, I think the environment was different, because I met people who either had the same experience.
Mm-hmm.
I was always number one on the list being sent home for school fees. But
Mm-hmm.
the encouragement of my father, coming to school, or my mother coming to school, the school was near where the church was, and my mother could bring me avocado, which I didn't eat,
Mm-hmm.
but that is the only thing she could afford, to bring. My father could, come to school even if I'm just away, but he will always tell the principal of the school that when any little money that he will get, he will bring. And one thing that encouraged me, even if he did not get anything, he will always come to report to the principal. So, and that always kept me going. But I could not fit in any either club or any games in school and whatever. But I fitted in a Christian, group, and that is what propelled me, because I could associate a lot. I became a leader of that group, and I could associate with people, socialize with people, and learn how to adapt and understand the situation that was current by that. And that is what propelled me to like join a group of Catholic brothers who we were friends while we were in school, and they are the ones who sponsored my education, to education. Without that, I don't think I will be here.
Did any other your siblings end up graduating from college also?
Yes, all the ones that are behind me, because I think when I joined, the brothers and whatever like that, they were giving a little bit of, a small stipend. I used that to help my brother. We are only two brothers, others are sisters, and help my sisters also going to school. Yes.
Okay.
So some of, I think 4 of them, 5 of them, went to college. Yes.
Okay. And I saw where you got a bachelor degree in education. And I think I also saw a B with a capital ED. And when I see that over here, I assume a doctorate. Did that imply that you got a doctorate in education also?
No, I have. I did a bachelor's
Okay.
in education. Then after that, I went back to do a master's in
Okay.
public administration
Okay.
and management. Yes, so I have a master's in public administration.
And you went to St. Mary's University,
Yes.
as in the St. Mary's here in Minnesota.
Mhm.
But I understand where you went was not in Minnesota, that they have a campus or something in
Nairobi.
Nairobi also. Okay, good, good.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
I'm
They have.
assuming that had to do with your connection with the religious groups and things over there, and they had a tie to St. Mary's. Okay, good, good, good.
Yes.
And so you graduate from St. Mary's, and then now all the fun is over. You got to actually go out and work. And well, you've been working all your life, but life gets serious after college. That's been my that was my personal experience. It get kind of serious there. Through college, it's kind of half serious and you're still having fun. But once you get out of college and those mortgages come and children and wives. By the way, tell us, are you currently married? And tell us about your current family. If
Yes,
Okay,
I am married. I have four children, 2 boys and 2 girls.
okay,
So my firstborn is turning 14, I think in June, and the second born will be 12, and the third born will be I think 10, and then the last one is 3 years. It just started school today. He's 3 years and 4 months. So he started school today,
what do you mean
this
started
morning.
school? You
Today,
don't mean
yes.
you mean is the school a daycare or both? Are they one and the same in Kenya in
No,
Nairobi?
it's a daycare. That's primary.
Okay, okay,
The
primary. Okay, good,
primary
good.
level. Yes. Yeah.
And you mentioned your wife and your children. Now, I think you said one of your I think you said your grandfather had 3 wives. Did
Yes.
I recall that
Yes.
correctly?
Yes.
Uh, and but I'm assuming as a Christian, you're not planning on having 3 wives, are you?
No, I have one, and I'm going to have
And
that
what
one.
man, what is enough? But we'll talk about that in a form where it won't reach my wife. Okay. So you graduate, and now you got to work. You got to really go out there and make an honest living. You can't just take classes and get paid and your rent and food is taken care of. You actually got to go to work. And looking at your career, let's talk about a few things. You spent so from 2021 to now. you were a Rotarian at RC Westland. And for
Yes.
those of us who don't know what exactly that is, we know it's part of the Rotary International. I'm assuming it's part of the whole Rotary Club ecosystem. What is a Rotarian at RC Westland? What does that do? Explain to us what you were doing there, Anthony.
Yeah, I joined Rotary in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm a Rotarian in RC Westlands. That's Rotary Club of Westlands,
Okay, gotcha.
which is one of the clubs, because
Right.
Rotary
Mm-hmm.
International has is divided into districts. So the district I am is District 9112, which is Nairobi, is Kenya, not Uganda, Kenya, Southern Sudan, and Ethiopia. Makes that district, and then
Mm-hmm.
there are several clubs that form
Mm-hmm.
that district. So I am in one of it, which is called uh, Rotary Club of Westlands, that
Okay.
forms part of the Rotary International.
Right.
And
Right.
what it does, Rotary is about service, serving the people, serving, giving, to help where the need is. So it has several, pillars. That is polio. We have environment. We have education. We have water wash. So we do in different aspects for that, and that's what propelled me to join that, because of service beyond
Okay.
self. Yeah.
And another place, either you worked or volunteered or something. It's something called Prodigy Preachers.
Protocol,
No,
protocol preacher
Prodigy.
international.
Okay, what I saw was
Yes,
Prodigy. Okay, Prodigal.
protocol.
Okay, as in
Mhm.
the prodigal son kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
it
Good.
is.
Good. Uh-huh.
It is an organization I helped come up, from the concept, and it is a registered organization in the US, and the founders are in the US. That's Pastor Mike and Angelica. And when I was in the US in 2017, I met Angelica and I met Pastor Mike. I went to their church. I talked, but they had this zealous passion to do something in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And in their church, they had refugees, from Congo, uh, Sudan, Somalia, and whatever. So they wanted to do something. So I became a conduit, for them to do that here. So they registered that organization, which supports education of the children in Uganda who are refugees from Nakivale refugee camp. So
Okay.
I coordinated that, and I coordinate that. So we have around 21 children that that organization is sponsoring through my coordinatorship, and
Right.
then they also help into feeding children in Kibera here in Nairobi and
Mm-hmm.
Kangemi. So that organization, I help them coordinate things on the ground. Yes.
Now, you just mentioned, and like I said, I just get curious about everything here. You just mentioned the name of a refugee camp.
Yes,
What was that
Nakivale.
name again? Nakiva. So that makes
Yes.
me think that this refugee camp has and perhaps will exist for a long time. It got a name to
Yes.
it. How
Yes.
long has it existed, by the way?
I can't remember when, but it has
For
existed
quite a bit.
as long as the war has been in Sudan,
Right. Okay.
because most of the
Okay.
people who are there are Sudanese, Congolese,
Right.
Somali, so it has existed as long as that, because there are several camps,
Right. Right.
Nakivale, we have Kakuma, there are several.
Okay. And as
Mhm.
you may know, you've been to Minnesota, that we have perhaps the largest Somali population
Yes.
in the U.S. And I do know quite a few Somalis.
Mhm.
And I do know that a lot of them have a connection to Kenya. And I think there were some refugee camps, Somali refugee camps in Kenya also. Am I
It's called
remember?
Kakuma. It's
Oh, okay.
Kakuma. Yes.
Okay. And then
Mhm.
and those camps are still there. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Do you foresee a day when Kenya is out of the refugee camp business?
Well, we had, I think 2 years or 3 years ago, where the government was saying that, they need now to go back because there was a witness of peace in those countries and whatever. But I really don't see that that is going to be soon,
Right,
given the situation in Somalia,
right,
the situation in Southern Sudan. Still, there's that tension and conflict. But we have had some refugees who have gone back and
right.
settled. Yeah.
Okay,
So
okay.
it will be progressive, as I would say.
Yeah, and I have friends from all parts of Africa, but I really talked to a lot of them about the political, military, strategic things that's going on in East Africa, Ethiopia, Eritrea, and those type of places. And I got a pretty good understanding of some things that's going on there. Where I'm going to, Anthony, uh, for people who are outside looking at the continent of Africa and the various countries, and we have to be careful we don't lump all the countries in together because I think we have a tendency to do that without respecting the fact that each one of a different sovereignty and has a different history and culture. But when we look at it, we often think of it as a place with a lot of great natural resources, precious metals, gold, oil, you name it. I think a lot of the special material they use for iPhones and things like that come from Africa. I know that China and a lot of places are fighting over the future of Africa. Where I'm getting at, we see a place like that, and we see this discrepancy, vast discrepancy between the ruling class and the people. We think of outsiders coming in and buying off the rulers, and the rulers are corrupt. Uh, how much of that is true? And I know it's kind of tough because now you're generalizing. But how do you combat what's wrong with that particular perspective of Africa, if anything, and what are we missing? Give us some context to that, which we may not understand. Help educate me. I'm not going to talk about other people about some of the things that I read and hear from people from there, and I guess I'm asking it more uh, and concerned about what is the future of Africa. But explain the general, and let's make it simple for you. Just deal with it from a Kenyan standpoint, because I think Kenya is one of the more Western-like country, for lack of a better word. I don't know. In Africa, but from a standpoint of Kenya, do you see some of those dynamics, and what is the prospect for the future to deal with some of those dynamics?
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. One of the thing is about leadership, and you see, a leadership that tries to a populace that is not educated, and then it creates division that leads to you know mm, um, you know um, spoiling what it is that they have.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Using another Kenyan context, like now we are having just campaigns. We are going to have a new administration in place in August, and you can see what it is. The two protagonists in the
Mm-hmm.
campaign,
Mm-hmm.
what they are saying and what it is, and they will want to use like more of the young people who don't have jobs because there's that level of vulnerability and the population that is vulnerable in terms of what it is that they want can be swayed using money or whatever
Right.
like
Right.
that.
Right. Right.
So, to put that in context, is that we have a majority of the Africans or Kenyans, with very little education, with the lack of employment, and that gets to be corrupted, and used in many in different ways as politicians could be.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing aspect here is the poverty that cuts across. And when we talk of poverty, it is also in different aspects
Mm-hmm.
because we are talking poverty not as a homogeneous group, but in segments. Because
Mm-hmm.
when we are talking of poverty, we are talking of poverty either among the young people, among women, among people in the rural village. So there are segments, and these are the groups that can be manipulated, with the people with money, for a different aspect of agenda that they want to advance, and that happens.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of getting out of this, because Africa has resources, yes, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
We have plenty of resources that we can use. The challenge is, we have oil, but we need to transport this oil to somewhere else so that it can become ready for us to use.
Right.
So we don't, have value to the goods that we have, that we have complete value to it. So
Right.
we need something, it need to go to China, or it need to go to the, somewhere else for it to be refined for us
Right.
to, you see, now that chain, I think is what, like in Kenya, we are trying to do to make sure that we have the byproducts and make sure that we complete the chain for us to use. So that also creates a lot of manipulation. It gets now a lot of, with the longer chain, the corruption is going to be there.
Yeah.
The longer chain, the manipulation is going to be there. So that's
Mm-hmm.
the challenge that we find ourselves in,
Okay.
in Kenya, and maybe, across, Africa. Another thing is that, yes, there is the African Union, there is the East African Bloc, there is the, other, groups. But in terms of, you can only negotiate trade or business as a bloc.
Mm-hmm.
But now, when you negotiate as an individual countries, then there's a lot of divide and rule.
Right. Right. Right.
And
Right.
in that case, then there's a lot of, again, abuse, a lot of, leaders, getting hand into things that maybe might not be, in terms of populace getting. But in Kenya, one of the positive things is that we are having a lot of participation and involvement of the people, and people are getting smart in terms
Right.
of the choices and the decisions that affect them. So you find that even in terms of leadership, they are now keen of what it is that, they need to pass, to the people, because we can tell them, no, that is not in the constitution. Because,
Mm-hmm.
like in Kenya, the constitution, the president goes for only 2 terms. That is it. And then we have another new election. That is now changing a little bit of the perspective here. Yeah.
Okay. And you mentioned the poverty and lack of education. That's a good segue into what you've done with your organization. Uh, b- and before we go there, one last thing I was curious about, as far as your career is concerned. I saw something that talked about mind map
Mhm.
specialists
Yes.
for NGA Foundation, and
Mhm.
I'm like, I don't know what a mind map specialist is. I'm gonna have to have Anthony explain that to me, and I didn't have time to look it up. I'm not gonna say Google.
Mhm.
Stop using that word. I didn't have time to look it up because I'm tired of
Mhm.
Google using my information and selling it, and I'm not getting a cut on it. But what is a mind map specialist?
Okay. Thank you. Um, let me give you a little bit of a scenario here.
Uh-huh.
There's a point I was teaching at the university, and I'm always very curious about the development of a mind and the development of people
Mm-hmm.
in what they love doing.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things, as I was teaching, I found out that many of these young people who were at the university,
Mm-hmm.
they were just there because either they were told to be there, or they found themselves there as an
Right.
opportunity to be there. But there was nothing, skill and passion for them to really do what it is that they were to do. Because
Right.
for me, in my thinking was that whenever you are at the university, you are being prepared to be a significant contributor to the development of the society or community or whenever you will work. But that was really, here or there.
Mm-hmm.
So I, wanted to really understand what is going on. So I had to resign and go back into the community and start journeying with these young people, to help them understand who they are, where they are going, and how to get to where they are going. And that
Mm-hmm.
did a lot with restructuring, their thinking, their, experiences, and trying to pick, as they share their stories, helping them to really identify the positive skills,
Mm-hmm.
things that they have done that they can now match with what it is that they want to do in future. Now, that restructuring and helping them brainstorm about the experience, their life, and refocusing, positively, is what we call mind mapping.
I love that. I really do. Now you mentioned people going to school and not, I don't know, for lack of a better way of putting it, taking it serious. And I tell people my pet peeve is same thing here. I'm like, people be having college degrees and high and advanced degrees, PhDs, and I'm sometimes surprised at what they don't know. And it just almost appears like people go take get educated just to get a job.
Oh,
And
yeah. Hmm.
education to me was something where I could just learn something. And
Hmm.
I never took a class that I didn't like because I just wanted to learn and remember what I learned in that class. And like I say, what I'm finding, it's like most people just look at college education, post secondary is a different question, as something I got to do to get a job, and
Hmm.
remembering and embracing and loving all the knowledge and new things that you're learning. I just sometimes wonder about that here in America. So you've seen the same thing over there in Kenya. You mentioned your work at the colleges. You were a college professor, were you not? Tell us about
I
that.
was.
What were you professing, Anthony? And 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 where
I,
what college or university were you doing this at?
no, I did that at Mount Kenya University. That's where I did my master's. And while I was there, they gave me an opportunity to help students teach. So I taught like for almost 3 or 4 years, there. So that's where I got the experience. But as you say, when you look, there are so many people, in different professions who are not happy. And like basically in Kenya, because here is where I have much of the experience, many people are just doing the job because it brings food on their table,
Right, right.
and they are not doing that. But when you look at people who are doing things they love doing, they progress in that career very fast.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's where I come in and, like, do what you love doing among the people who love what you do, and it's very easy for you to achieve your
Mm-hmm.
dreams.
Right.
But when you do things that you don't love doing, in fact, your mental health is affected,
Right.
because every time you're sad, you are not satisfied, you're just there because, and you find out that even your emotions are always have problems, because you are not doing things that make you happy, or things that, happiness comes from inside. If you are
Yes.
not happy, you will
Yes.
not you know provide that happiness to even the people that you are working with. Now, that's some of the things that we work with young people here. Identify what it is that you enjoy, identify what it is that you love, so that we journey with you to make sure you achieve that.
Yeah.
Because if you don't achieve your dream, it will be. And one of the things that we work with young people here to tell them is, the only person who can stop you from achieving what you can achieve is yourself. Nobody
Yes.
else. It's
Yes.
yourself.
It's that
So
simple, really. Mm-hmm.
it's that simple. So we encourage them, don't stop yourself from growing, from achieving what it is.
Right.
Stay positive, you know, associate yourself with people who can encourage you and support you positively, avoid, people who are pessimistic,
Right.
negative, thinking, and, you'll propel that.
Well, that fits in perfectly. What we're the messages that we're trying to send. One of the challenges here, and I live in probably the largest black community in Minnesota, and with our youth, one of the issues we have, fundamental issues we have, they sit around all day and in the media, in classrooms in public schools. Oh God, public education. In with the celebrities, pop culture, all they hear is how unfair life is, and whoa, you're a victim, and how people have treated you, and look what they did to your parents 200 years ago. And it's very seldom they hardly hear anything positive. And like what you're saying and what we're saying, if you got goals, go after your goals, and we hear you can achieve them. And the only person stopping you is you. And
Yes.
we don't get that message across. As a matter of fact, I want to look up more information on mind mapping, and if you know, we have some common people we know in common. Send Sasha some links for her to relay on to me, so I can do
Mhm.
some more, because that's what we really need. Is, and I tell everybody, my thing is perspective, attitude, how you react to things, your amount of your tenacity, and there's always a spirituality component to that. And I've never ever paid attention to what the world was doing, what other people were thinking. I just always had goals and knew I could uh, achieve whatever goals that I had the
Mhm.
talent and the hard work and the effort and the discipline to achieve. And our
Mhm.
kids need to hear more of that. So I might have to bring you next time you're in Minnesota. I'm gonna have you come and talk to some of our youth. so so there's
Mhm.
this organization you were based upon your experience growing up, and I understand that you were fairly economically challenged, and that's a euphemism for
Mhm.
poor. And you just remembered your childhood, and as you grew up, you wanted to do something about it. And I think in 2012, you founded an organization, and I hope I don't mess this up. And for our audience, he spent about a few minutes trying to get me me to pronounce this correctly. So this is like a spelling test for me. Uh, you formed an organization called
Yes.
Ngao. Okay, good,
Mhm.
good. Yeah, I probably messed it up. You're being nice to me. You pronounced it better. But
Mhm.
tell us about this organization that you founded, and I think you're currently the director there now. Tell us about it, and what was your mission and vision and goals when
Mhm.
you, uh, well, first of all, when you got the idea to do it and when you did it. So, what were your
Okay.
missions, vision, and goals for this organization?
Mhm. Yeah. Even before I started in Ngao, I had already worked with or started another organization with the brothers, where we were um, feeding, yes, street children, and rehabilitating them and connecting them back to school. I started with two children. That was the year 2000, I think the year 2000. And when I was handing over that, I handed over when we had almost 356 children. Uh, and that was in the year around the year 2012 when I was handing that. So I had an experience of already working with these poor children from the street, vulnerable families, and whatever. So that's what I knew, from that time. So when I was starting GAO, I wanted to do something for young people, to realize who they really are, in the sense that everybody is born with inherent potential and capacity. We just don't realize it. So we started it with doing community conversations, whereby we will ask young people, what is it that they have done? Some had done some courses, others have just that. And what is this that they had that they can use to move on with their life? And that's when I started Ngao. And that's why Ngao is a Swahili word which means shield, protect yourself. You can shield with yourself. So
Mhm.
we were starting an organization that can shield them from the vulnerability and the despair that happened to the young people. With the acronym, because that's GAO, NGAO, means
Mhm.
not simple, growth, aligned with opportunities. That means we pick a young child within the community, or they come to us, or they are referred to us, and whatever. We try to notice what it is that it is in him, any asset that
Mm-hmm.
is in. We grow that asset or that capacity. We align that with the available opportunities within the community, because community has everything. So if it is, for example, this person wants to be a driver,
Mm-hmm.
then we will, notice that, grow that, either by connecting this person to the garage or to the driving school, and align that within the community, any available opportunity, either driving or garages that are available. So that's why Ngao started with the young people, with the women. Like now, the issue of feeding children, because Ngao has 4 programs. We do feed the children every day. And why we started doing that is that during the COVID, we realized that many parents lost jobs. As they
Mm-hmm.
lost the jobs, children were now roaming around everywhere. Many children were just now roaming into the streets and picking, cabbage. And so we decided to say, now, what do we do? We decided that if you have food, a child will not really move and go anywhere. They will just be around. So we used food as a remedy to hold children from entering into the street, and that continued up to now. And then now, when we realized that they can hold, be there, we started talking about them going back to school. So we have the education program,
Mm-hmm.
also where we help them now, those who are not in school, to get back to school. And now we have a WASH program within Ngao, where we help now communities to access the clean water, so that we minimize or reduce cases of them going to the hospital, so that the money that is used to buy trucks or what they can use to buy food, for that. And then now the mentoring
Mm-hmm.
program, where we
Mm-hmm.
journey with young people to know who they are, where they are going, and how to get to where they are going.
Okay, and for clarification of me and my audience, I think you've referred to brothers at least once or twice, and I want the audience here in the U.S. at least to know. I think you're referring to your religious brothers, and
Mhm.
it's not necessarily your because over here a lot of African Americans call themselves brothers, but you're basically talking about your religious brothers when you refer to brothers, right? In the church, is
Yes,
that okay? Good, good, good.
they,
Now
they are
give.
called. Maybe,
Uh,
maybe if you just I can, because they are in the US,
uh-huh,
and they are known. They are known to be very good educators.
uh-huh.
They are in Massachusetts. Did I pronounce it very well? In
Yes, you did.
Massachusetts.
You probably did
And
it
they
better than
run,
I did in Gal. But go ahead.
yes,
Uh-huh.
they are
Uh-huh.
called Xaverian brothers, and they are in different parts of US. And like one of school that I remember, they have supported and run is St. John Prep,
Oh yeah, okay.
in Denver's, and they have that. So they are good Xaverian brothers, and they are very good educators. Yes, Catholic group of brothers.
Okay, so help us understand the scope of the effort to feed the children
Mhm.
in Nairobi, Kenya. Are we? What what percentage of the children would you guess, and probably a guesstimate, are in need of programs like yours in Nairobi? Oh, and by the way, that's part A. And part B is what's behind that need? How do you explain that need? What's causing that need?
Okay. You see, when we talk of Nairobi, Nairobi is surrounded by slums. We have Kibera, we have Madare, we have Mukuru. There are several slums, and
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
the great population of people live in those, informal. We call it informal settlement or slums. So where Ngao is, we are in Kangemi, one of the informal settlements, and we feed over 300 children every day or every weekend. Like now, we have just had schools, closed for two months, and now we are having children, feeding them every day, and we have only capacity that we could feed was 300 to 400 children, because that's what we could manage. But if it is that we have the capacity, you can feed over 6,000 children, because you will have Kawangware, you will have the next village, you could have the next village like that. Because I can tell you, COVID had a lot of ramification, and diverse effects on families, and on children, for example, and even institutions. So that happen. And the reason why we are doing this is many parents are struggling to make sure that they can have the ends meet food. So they are, competing between food, school, and other, basic commodities on what it is. So you find out that in where we are and the slums that are in, there are so many children, who are either having one meal or no meal at all. So they can have either a meal in the evening, or they might miss that. So if they are at the center, they will have that meal, and that is what they will sleep up during.
Right.
Like we are doing even measure weight of them just because even the
Anthony,
we talk about eating,
Anthony,
we
your
don't talk
network.
about.
By the way, Anthony, your network is fading on us a little here. Is there anything you could do on your end to? I think we're going to be okay though. But let's just keep going.
It's
there
okay
you go.
now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, it's okay now. Thank you. Okay.
So here we talk about eating. We don't talk about balanced, food.
Right.
Because if you are going to eat, a mixture of maize and beans, corn or beans, that's the food that you are going to eat. You are not going to talk of fruit or what and eat what is available. So that's what children eat. But basically, they will eat either one meal. So the parent or the guardian will find food for evening so that they can sleep at night. But there's no lunch, there's no breakfast. So there's one meal. And we are also having a lot of single parenthood here. You'll find that you have a child, a mother with either 6 children, or a father with 2 children. So there's a lot of that. Then there's also young teenage pregnancies, that has especially during the COVID period, we had a lot of unwanted or young children, kids getting pregnant and doing getting this. Now we have children, and now you find out that they don't have a means, because it's no job, there's no one. What they will do is these informal jobs. Now everybody is, if the higher population is doing these informal jobs, then even those jobs are not there. So you find out now children end up suffering. So organizations like now us, we come up to either assist where we can, manage and move on, and the government, to do that. Yes.
So where does your funding come from to feed these children?
Our funding really in Ngao has been getting funding from friends. That's what
Friends?
I call. I call it connecting dots. If like you are there, you hear what it is that we are doing, and you love what we are doing, then you support us with what it is that you are support. We have not gotten any funding from any organization or big organization. So it has been just from friends. When I came to the US in 2017, the friends that I met, they are the friends that who support us.
Okay, gotcha.
Organization, Protocol Preacher International, they support us in feeding a bit of the children, on that. Yeah. So
is there a reason you haven't gone after funding from, for lack of a better way of putting it, NGOs, international NGOs and things like that, or from foundations and things like that?
No, there's no reason. We fundraising is continuous, so we always progressive. So we always try writing proposals. That's what we do each and every time. Exactly, yeah. And one, people give to people.
Right. Yes.
So basically when you are not known, and some, you will not maybe consider that, but we try each and every time to do proposals to, get as much as we can get closer to getting that. Yeah.
Yeah, I came across it. We're going to wrap it up here within 5 minutes or so, I hope. But I never know. Sometimes I ramble on. But I read somewhere uh, the statement you had: food plus dance equals happiness. And it reminded me food plus dance equals happiness. I read somewhere on a
Oh.
website about about your thing, and I love that because I tell people that because of God and great parents and great family and great people and great music, great food, that's 95% of joy in life. That's life don't get much better. Doesn't get much better than that. And so that really caught my mind. But tell us a little bit about what you had in mind when you said food plus dance equals happiness.
Yeah, that is exactly what happens. Any child who is angry cannot do anything, cannot dance. So it has been our experience here that when the children are at our center, they don't go away. They will prepare food together. When they eat, they will take the music and they will dance, and that has been the evidence. And when you see them eating, and after they eat or clean and do what, they are very happy. So it is apparent. You can see it in their faces, you can see it in their muscle, you can see it in their everything. So it is a fact that a
Right.
child who is satisfied will talk, will share, will dance, and will even help others.
Okay, so tell us as we wrap it up, give us some of the success stories and any individual stories that you're just proud of and just warms your heart when you think about, and just give you that extra wind beneath your wings
Mhm.
in doing what you're doing here. Do you have any stories like that for us, Anthony?
Yes, I have so many stories, and I don't know which one I can pick and share, but I
Okay.
can attest that I feel proud and satisfied when I see a young life changing to positive living and future and hope. Recently, we had one of the girl, graduate, and this girl came not to our office through a friend, and she was a maid, a maid that working as a house girl,
Mm-hmm.
and the mother passed away. The father remarried, and the stepmother could not allow her into the house, or they did have a very bad relationship. So she wanted, to do something. She didn't want to be always a house girl, and she wanted to do something. So
Mm-hmm.
when we did a little bit of mapping, we realized that she was very passionate about hair beauty, cosmetology. And so, we mapped out that, and we said, well, look for the college. You go to college. We will try to raise money from friends and whatever. When I was saying that, I didn't know who is going to help me put this girl in school. So, and that was during COVID. So she found a college. I had to intervene and say, we don't have money to raise money for you to rent a house. So if you can, you know, stay with your father and go to college, that will be fine. And she swallowed that pride and she went, stayed with the parent. It was very difficult. But so eventually, I just wrote to one of my friends and I said, look, I have this girl. She wants to go to college. She is already there. And, fees is needed. Please, if you have a friend or you can, support, please. So, and this friend of mine, just said, okay, how much is it? And I said, it was around $600, and it will take her a year, and she will complete, and we got that. We paid, that school fees. Before even she finished, she got a job. Okay, and as we talk, she graduated 2 weeks ago. She has a job. She is now the one supporting the young siblings, to go to school. We had, when you look at our social media on Facebook, you can see a graduation there, and the father came, for that graduation. The sibling came, the villagers came, and they were very happy. So we had to host, that celebration for her, and now it has transformed her life, including the family, because they see her as a person who has completed, at $60, no, 600
Mm-hmm.
within 1 year. She has a job. She can now support the other sibling with a positive now family coming together and moving on. So that is what I can share as one of it, plus many others.
That's a great story. What's your biggest challenge at this point? I know fundraising is one.
Yeah.
Is that the main challenge, and what will be your secondary challenge
Yeah.
after fundraising?
Yes, the biggest challenge is really getting. I think during the COVID we have had a lot fundraising a problem now, especially getting funds for children to go to school, because that's a long term commitment for individuals.
Right.
That has been a challenge. Another challenge is now we want to make sure that instead of hiring where we are doing, because now we want also to get a permanent place where we cannot move, so that we set up the residence, and we can be there permanently. So those are the two issues or challenges that we are facing at the moment. Yes.
Quickly, and I caught this. You're looking for money for children to go to school.
Yes.
Does Kenya have Nairobi have a public school system where it's free?
Yes.
Okay. Is
Yeah,
this
they do.
above it?
They do
Go
have
ahead.
system where they say there's free primary school, free second school, but what it is the government subsidizes.
Mm-hmm.
But when we have, like now in the informal settlement or in the slums,
Mm-hmm.
where the government is subsidizing, and they only need even just $5. Maybe that $5 is for exams or for something that the school is want.
Right.
Do you
I
know that
got you. I
that child
got you.
will not go to school? Because
Okay.
the government is not buying uniform for these kids.
Right. I got you.
It's not buying maybe books or whatever. There's some very small things that
Right.
will
I got you.
totalize to, let me say, maybe $15. But that parent will not, because there is a
Okay.
need of food, either rent or a school.
Yeah. Thanks for that.
So that is where the problem is. But the government is doing a lot,
Yeah.
to make sure that there is um, complete full retention of kids in school. But
Mm-hmm.
now, especially now, secondary is even worse, because the government pays some money and the parent need to pay some money. So
Right.
that is even worse, because primary, yes, but second, when they go to high school is even worse, because, the amount is a little bit higher. And that's where we are finding now the poor parents or parents that cannot afford, they cannot
Mm-hmm.
even take their kid to school. Like currently, as I'm saying, I have 9 in my office, and I don't have money to take them to school. I'm like praying to God, to see how, because they are there. That's the only place they have been for the last 2 months.
Right.
Now others are going to school because schools opened this week. So they are like, okay, Ngao is going to take us to school. But now as the director, I see there and I'm like, where
Yeah.
am I going to get this?
But you've given an example already. You're a man who walked by faith and not by sight, and
Yes.
it has paid off for you. So here's the thing: how let our audience know where they can go to find more information about your organization and how they can
Mhm.
support your organization.
Yes, they can find information on our website. We have our website called www.theNgaoFoundation.org.
Mm-hmm.
You can get information and stories on there. You have our Facebook, the Ngao Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
It's very active. You can see everything that we have. Twitter, the
Mm-hmm.
same. We have Instagram, is there. And so you can get information there. But again, there is this platform called Global Giving. Global Giving is a crowd funding platform, and Ngao projects there. We have, one project of helping the children, help a child get back to school. It's a project there. So that goes to the education of the children. We have emergency family relief and nutrition support is a project also on there, from the Ngao. Then we have a project of enhanced access to clean water, and sanitation. So we have 3 projects on global giving, under the Ngao Foundation that, we try to fundraise and support in the community. So for anybody who wants to support, you can get us on the website, and you can, support through PayPal or through, direct wire. Go to Global Giving, and, Google, get Ngao Foundation, the Ngao Foundation. You will get the project that you want to support. It will be there. And then in fact, you just follow, you click on the project and just follow the instruction. Then you can support. It can give you, whether you want to do monthly, a once, a recurring, or you want to do a once. It gives you all the options, and we will definitely appreciate all the support.
Well, speaking of appreciation, I really appreciate you spending some time with us this evening, telling us about all the great work you're doing. I really love the whole idea of mind mapping and getting our young people to focus on what they want to be and knowing that they can achieve whatever they set their minds to it. And that's a very positive message. Of course, the basic thing of feeding the children, I mean, you don't get any better than that. And just keep up the great work. Uh, Before we leave, I want you to leave our audience with a short, upbeat, positive message, Anthony. And before you go there, next time you're in the U.S., I think you and I have a common associate in Sasha Denisova. Let Sasha know that you'll be coming to Minnesota again, and I'll make sure I get a chance to meet you. But leave our audience. Oh, by the way, the other part of that is that I want to come to Kenya. I used to work with some computer programmers and IT project managers from Kenya. Yeah, and I was very impressed with their knowledge and professionalism and the way they dress. They dress sharp too. But look like you're dressing sharp too. Uh, but leave. I'm going to be in Kenya, by the way. You're going to say I'm going to meet you in Kenya, Nairobi. And would you recommend that I come? I'm assuming, yeah. But leave our audience with a very positive message, Anthony, and looking forward to meet you in person one day. Go ahead,
Yes.
your stage.
Yeah, thank you so much for this opportunity. I really appreciate for this. I don't take this for granted, because it is the opportunity that comes once um, in a lifetime, for this. And I want to leave this the people, or to the audience today, that do what it is that you love doing with the people who love what you do, and you can achieve your dreams easily. Always remain positive and do what it is that you love doing, and remain happy.
I
When
love
you
it.
are happy, you will give happiness to the community and to the people around you. Thank you so much.
Great positive message. You have a great morning. It's time for you to go fix breakfast, I guess. For your wife and children this morning, by the way. And we look forward to seeing you in person one day and having you back on the podcast. So, Anthony, have a great evening and enjoy. Thanks for being on. All right, everyone. That was Anthony Hulula with the Ngao Foundation. Look them up. Doing some great things over in Nairobi, Kenya, feeding children and helping them become educated and things like that. So there's a lot of good Samaritans out there that we need to line up and support. In the meantime, go out to my website, lacyjohnson.com. Uh, Subscribe, click the bell for notification. Support the podcast. We got a online store with merchandise, and we do appreciate your financial support and and donations. We're going to continue to work this with a little tenacity and consistency and improve over time and get better for you. So, once again, everyone, thank you for watching and listening. And this is Lacy Johnson saying goodbye for the Bright Lights podcast, where we bring you achievers. And we're not here for any negative things. We're saying let's set some goals and let's go forward and achieve them. And let's light a candle instead of cursing the dark. Good evening, everyone. See you next